Hey everyone, Kevin here. It is time for episode 3 of Q&A in the car. And so I mentioned last week that I'm going to be starting off each of these segments with something I call 4 quadrants. And so the way that works is I take a category. This week it is radio Christmas songs. And I simply list a bunch of them and have you give me some. And I will place them into one of 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is fantastic. Quadrant 2 is good. Quadrant 3 is just acceptable. And Quadrant 4 is unacceptable. All right? So I had some of you comment some Christmas radio songs. I asked for some feedback earlier. And here are a few that were mentioned. One was Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time. That belongs in quadrant number 4. That is unacceptable. That is on my list of my 2 very least favorite Christmas songs of all time. Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time. I always turn the radio off when it comes on. Baby It's Cold Outside was mentioned. I actually don't have a problem with that one. Other than, obviously, I guess there are some things in it that I don't agree with. But, if you imagine it as, a husband and wife, then it's kind of cute, I guess. Let's see. Santa Baby. Yeah, I agree. Santa Baby is not that great. Probably quadrant 4 on that one, too. Unacceptable. The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole. Yeah, that should go in quadrant 1. That is a fantastic Christmas song. And that is probably the best version of that song by Nat King Cole. Somebody mentioned Happy Holiday. I guess we can put that in quadrant 2. It's good. If it's the one I'm thinking of, then I don't find it fantastic or anything, but it's alright. I think somebody said Christmas Time Is Here is the worst. I don't agree with that. I actually really like Christmas Time Is Here. We'll put that in quadrant 2. That's a good one. Little Saint Nick. I actually haven't heard this one on the radio before, I don't think. I only heard it maybe once or twice my whole life, and I don't think it was on the radio. So, I guess I don't know that one well enough to really put it in a quadrant. Let's see. Linus and Lucy, the Peanuts piano song that comes on the radio a bunch of times every year. That's definitely quadrant 1. That's just a fantastic song. Last Christmas, quadrant 4. Okay. Last Christmas and Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time are my 2 least favorite Christmas songs on the radio. And Last Christmas to me is a ridiculous song because the whole lyric is, last Christmas I gave you my heart. The very next day you gave it away. So this year I'm going to give it to someone special. Well, if they weren't special, why did you give them your heart last year? Does anybody else find that? I don't know. To me, it seems like ridiculous. If they weren't special, then you shouldn't have given them your heart last year. Why didn't you give it to someone special to begin with? So that's my problem with that song. Okay. Feliz Navidad, quadrant 4. Okay, and I don't think this is racist or anything, because I haven't asked, but I think that any Hispanic person would probably agree that they don't like Feliz Navidad. That's just, I don't know. Maybe somebody can check on that for me, but I personally think that they probably hate the song just as much as I do. And probably all the time they get asked, oh, you're Hispanic, you probably like Feliz Navidad. They probably get sick of hearing that. It's a repetitive song. Because here's the thing, I don't dislike it because it's a Hispanic or Latin themed song. I dislike it because it's repetitive and it says the same thing over and over again. That's why. Okay? Carol of the Bells by Trans-Siberian Orchestra, also quadrant 4. I have a lot of quadrant 4 Christmas songs, and most of them are the songs that get played 15 times a day on the radio station. It's like they look through every year all the Christmas albums and they find what are the worst Christmas songs possible, and let's play those as many times as we can. So we can not get people to listen to our Christmas station, except people will continue to listen. I don't know why. So Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Carol of the Bells is one of those. Unacceptable. You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. Quadrant 1. One of the best radio Christmas songs of all time. Of course, the Thor Ravenscroft version is the best, but it's hard to mess up the Grinch song. As long as you've got a good gravelly bass voice, which I don't, then you can do a really good job on that. Okay. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, Quadrant 4. For obvious reasons. Anything by Michael Jackson, Quadrant 4. And he's got a bunch of them. What are they? Santa Claus is Coming to Town, I think. I Saw Mama Kissing Santa Claus. I don't know. There's a bunch of Michael Jackson songs they play at Christmas, and I don't like any of them. Quadrant 4. I didn't really put anything in Quadrant 3, I don't think. It's probably because I'm either like love or hate with all the Christmas radio songs. I either really, really like them or really dislike them. Bing Crosby has got a lot of good stuff. White Christmas is actually not Bing Crosby's best song, but it is a solid Quadrant 2 song. It's good. It's not fantastic, but it's good. His best Christmas song is It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. That is possibly the greatest Christmas radio song of all time, is Bing Crosby's It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. Anyway, if I missed any songs, feel free to comment below, let me know, and I'll tell you where they stand in the rankings. In case you were wondering, you're probably, I'm sure, very desperate to figure out where your favorite Christmas song falls in my 4 quadrants. I know you won't be able to sleep until you find that out, so feel free to comment if you have any. I'm going to move on. I didn't really solicit any questions earlier today, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk. But if anybody here is watching and wants to ask any questions, that's what this is about, Q&A in the car. It can be about music ministry, church, spiritual. It can be completely off the wall. It can be about fast food. I'm known for having terrible fast food opinions that I don't think they're terrible, but everybody tells me they're terrible. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to comment. I'm going to go ahead and move on and address a topic then. And I'm going to talk about should churches use screens versus hymnals. This is in a class that I teach at the college here. This is one of the topics that comes up. And I've read some on this and done a little reading on it and meditation, thinking about it. And so I'm just going to give you here's what I have to say about screens versus hymnals in church. Okay? I could go into all the pros and cons, and I don't really feel like doing all that right now. But let's just say, first of all, there are pros and cons to each, hymnals and screens. I am also not a person that says screens are evil. I don't think that's true. I'm not a person that says if you don't use hymnals, then you are not saved or something like that. I don't think that's true. I think each church is different. Each church is going to do what's best for them. Here's what I will say. What I like to do on this topic is just a caution. So here's what I think I can say. I think I can say with pretty relative certainty that you can't expect to switch from hymnals to screens. Don't switch from hymnals to screens expecting that it's going to fix something. I guess that's what I would say. So should you use screens? If it's right for your church, and if your pastor wants to, or if you want to make that move to screens, if you think that's a good move for your church, by all means do it. But don't do it expecting that it's going to fix a bunch of stuff. It's not going to make, I don't think it's going to make a significant difference in your song service. So if you make that move, make it because it's right for your church. Don't make it because you expect your song service to just explode when you start using screens instead of hymnals, because it probably won't happen. It may actually decrease. It might increase. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to just, I don't think anybody can go back and say, you know, when our song service really took off, it's when we made the switch to screens. I don't think anybody can say that. So again, not saying there's anything wrong with them, just saying don't expect them to fix anything and make anything fantastic. Because when you weigh out all the pros and cons, you're going to end up finding that you're probably not going to see a significant external change. Just make the move that's right for your church. If you've got good reasons for doing it, by all means do it. I think they can be used effectively. Screens, I think hymnals are great. My personal preference is hymnals, and I could give you reasons for why that is, but I don't really feel like I need to say one is right or wrong, because there's not a right or wrong. It's just that I think people need to weigh things out before making decisions. So some reasons, let me give you, I guess, a couple of my reasons for preferring hymnals, is that screens, one of the biggest ones is that screens don't give you the notes, they just give you words. So if you're introducing a new song and you're dealing with people that are used to reading music, they won't even be able to know the tune of the song until they hear it. So the first time, they're just going to be kind of mumbling or not singing at all, the first several times, until they finally learn the song. Another con of that same aspect is the fact that if you don't have music up there, and people are used to singing without music, then you're going to raise a generation of churchgoers that don't know how to read music. I mean, if you think about it, in what other aspect, the average person walking into your church that's not like a music teacher or a high school band member or something like that, just the average guy, a plumber or electrician or whatever, that goes and sits in your pew and sings songs in the church, in what other avenue during the week does he have opportunity to read and interact with sheet music or written music? Most of them, none at all, unless they happen to be a musician also. So this is one of the last remaining ways that people are actually reading sheet music, is when they crack open the hymnal and see written music. And so if we take that away, then we're going to raise a generation of people that are musically illiterate in that they can't read music, which will also have the byproduct of making your choir practice probably a lot more difficult. We're talking years in the future, but you're going to be dealing with a choir, the next generation of your choir, having gone to a church that didn't have any sheet music whatsoever. So, again, those are some ideas. One is that screens can also sometimes be distracting because you deal with, you're introducing the human error, whereas with a hymnal, you're opening the hymnal and you're reading from the hymnal. With a screen, you have to hope that the guy is going to flip the age-old problem of not flipping the slide at the right time, or a typo on the screen, or putting the wrong song up, or putting the slides in the wrong order, things like that. You're introducing at least one, if not several more humans into the mix, and anytime you do that, you're introducing more possible distractions and mistakes. So there's that. Screens, I think, are replacing something timeless with something temporary. Here's what I mean by that. With your hymnal page, well, I'm just making something up here, but I crack open the hymnal on Sunday morning to Love Lifted Me, page 89. When I crack open that hymnal on Wednesday night, or on next Sunday, or 5 years from now, or 100 years from now, when the next generation cracks open that same hymnal, probably it'll be a different hymnal, but you get the idea. Page 89 is still going to be Love Lifted Me. Same ink, still on the page. Whereas the screen, you flip the switch and it's gone. And it'll be different words, different songs, different pictures, different colors next week. So in my mind, there's something more personal and more permanent about the ink on the page of a hymnal. I can't maybe fully explain that. Maybe it's just sentimentality, but I think there's something to that. And then the last thing I would say is just that I think screens in general have contributed to a shorter attention span in our society. We've got smartphones and tablets and even screens in our cars and computer screens in our offices, television, obviously, the big screens now. I mean, everywhere you go, just try counting the number of screens you see in a day. I haven't tried doing this, but I just thought, I wonder how many screens, different screens, that the average American looks at throughout the course of a day, or not just American, around the world, in any semi-developed country. So you think about that and the aspect that screens are literally changed the way that we interact with people and with our society. And we go into the church and then it's going to be more screens and more things flashing across the screen. I think that screens have contributed to a shorter attention span in our society. And so you're dealing with people that find it difficult to sit and listen to a sermon. I mean, you look at a few centuries ago, sermons would be preached that would last for 2 or 3 hours of preaching. And you had kids in there sitting and listening to that, and teenagers sitting and listening to that. And these days, I mean, if you go past 30 minutes, people are people are zonking out, or they're looking at their watch, or they're zoned out, daydreaming. And I say this as someone that doesn't have a very long attention span myself, so I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just saying that as a society, I think part of that has been that we're so used to these screens that are constantly changing and swiping and flashing, and new images are popping up. And when we put that in our church on purpose, I think we just have to consider that the long-term effects of that. So, am I saying screens are evil and of the devil? No. If it's right for your church, please use them. But don't expect they're going to fix anything. Here's the deal at the end of the day. Technology never fixed a heart problem. So, again, use screens because it's right for your church. But if you feel like, man, our song service is just apathetic and just lethargic as all get out, maybe if we switch to screens, it'll give some new energy. Don't count on it. That's what I would say, because you're probably dealing with something that goes a lot deeper than technology. You're dealing with things that needs to be brought out of people's hearts, and that's only going to happen through the Word of God, the Spirit of God, through preaching, and through good solid leadership. So I think if you're a church that's dealing with a problem like that, then you as a leader, if you're a pastor or a music director, you should evaluate the situation. Is there anything I could be doing to help revitalize this, rather than just say, well, it's your own fault, you all have wicked hearts. Well, that may or may not be true, but you should evaluate what you can do. But don't just settle on, hey, this little piece of technology or this tool is going to fix everything, because there has never yet been a piece of technology that fixed a heart problem. So anyway, I could say a whole lot more about screens and hymnals, but that's just my take. Use them if it's right for your church. If it's not right for your church, don't use them. I don't think either's right or wrong. I think whatever's right for your church and whatever your pastor thinks is right for your church, I think that's what's right. But they're just my little take there. Don't expect either one to be way better, or don't expect screens to be way better than hymnals, I guess is what I would say. And don't expect that it's going to fix anything overnight. So anyway, I don't see any other questions. I'm going to post this on YouTube later today. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. Excellence in Church Music. And putting out new videos now every Monday, every Wednesday. Monday, Q&A in the car. Monday and Thursday. Monday, Q&A in the car. Thursday, live hymn requests. So this Thursday, I'll be playing live requests, hymns again. Message me or comment if you have any requests. I'll try to get to them. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you all have a great night and a great Christmas time. And now you know what songs to listen to. You know what songs to shut off if they come on the radio. We'll see you later.